In this part of the data validation course, we are going to talk about creating drop-down menus using the list from a range. Let's get started. So first we want to talk about ranges. In our introduction to data validation, we created a list from a standard range. So here I have a drop-down list of sheets, forms, docs, Gmails, drives, slides, meets, and chats. Unfortunately, this isn't in an ordered list. So what if we wanted to have a sorted range? One trick we might want to do is this. First, I'm going to unhide this sidebar here and show you some data that I have. Here I have our original list that fed into this A2 through to A6 drop-down ranges. And you can see it's not in any order. So perhaps you might have this in a Notes sheet tab in your Google Sheets workbook. And you might want to put beside it an ordered list as well, so you don't change the original layout of your data. So on the right hand side here, I have our sorted list of values. So let's have a look at cell I3 to see how we sorted this range of data. Here you can see I have the sort function, which can take just the range of data, and if it has no other optional functions, it will order it alphabetically. So now the range from H3, which is from here all the way down to H10, so all the way down to H10, is sorted alphabetically. If we go to this cell here and we want to make our list from a range alphabetical, all we need to do now is reference that range. So I'm going to right click, go all the way down to the bottom, click on data validation. Then I've still got list of range here, and we're going to enter a range or formula. So here I'm going to select data range, and I'm going to drag this all the way down, and I'm done. I can click OK, and let's reject input, and we can show validation help and hit save. Now when we've got our list, we can see that we have our ordered list. So you don't just have to select a vertical list of data for your list from a range. Let's have a look at our list of data here, and we can see we've got a horizontal selection. If I click on this cell, D3, and right click and go down to the bottom, hit data validation, I'll move this up so you can see here, and then we want list from a range, we can click this data set here. And I'll drag across, so we've got that set, click OK, reject input, show validation, and save. Now you'll see that we've got our list going from left to right. So chat, docs, drive, forms, chat, docs, drive, and forms. And we can select each one. Cool. You can also create a drop-down from a matrix of data, that is a block of columns and rows. So let's have a look at this example. Here I've got a data set of our list of data here, and it is sheets, forms, docs, Gmail, drive, and slides. I can select all this data and put that in my matrix. So let's see how that looks. So again, click the cell, right click down to the bottom, data validation, list from a range, cool. And then now I'm going to drag and click the entire range. Okay, so when I did that, I just clicked the cell, held down the left mouse button and dragged across. I click OK and reject, show validation and save. And let's have a look at our matrix. Now carefully look at the order in which they go. So here we've got sheets, Gmail, forms, drives, docs, and slides. So that means it goes from sheets from left to right and then down. Sheets, Gmail, forms, drive, docs, and slides. Sheets, Gmail, forms, drive, docs, and slides. Select Gmail just for fun. In our last example, we're going to work with relative data validation drop-down lists. So what do I mean by that? Let's have a look at one of the ones we worked on previously. So I'm going to go into this one that contains docs and right-click and go down to our data validation and select it. And you can see here there's a bunch of dollar signs. Now, what do these dollar signs do? Well, these dollar signs actually lock in this particular range. So this one is from H14 to K14. So if we move this over, we can see that H14 to K14 is this horizontal selection here. So let's move this back over to this side. If I were to drag this cell down, this range won't change. Now I can change this by removing one of these dollar signs. So for example, if I remove the dollar sign from the H and the K, that means the columns are flexible. So if we start dragging this over to the right one place, then it would be I14, L14. If I kept the dollar signs there and just removed the dollar signs from the row numbers and I dragged it down, then if I drag this down to the next cell here to D4, then this value will be H15 and then K15. Let's see how this works in the wild. So let's close this, and I've got two values here. First one, I have a doc and a sheet value that I want to look up. And we'll just scroll down and I'll show you what we have here. In our template, we have a doc which matches this doc here from list from arrange, and that has some drop-down menu items, which is going to be letter and report. And the same for sheet. We have invoice, stock, and budget, which we want to put in a drop-down here. So as usual, we're going to click on this range from E5 and hold shift down to E6. And now we're going to right click, go and grab our data validation, and we're going to select our ranges. So let's scroll down a bit, and all we need to do is select this first range formula here. So I'm going to select the data range and just drag this across to here and click on OK. Now this time around, we can't just leave it as is, because if I close this and open it back up again, it's going to have all the dollar signs. So what we need to do is to lock certain cells in and keep the others. And we'll start this off with an equal sign and then put a absolute value here for our column value I, but not put a dollar sign onto our row, and do the same for the column value K, and hit save. And let's head back up to our drop down menu here, and now you can see we've got our doc list, which should reveal letter and report. So I'm going to check letter and report, and let's check our sheet list, and that's going to reveal invoice, stock, and budget, which is the invoice, stock, and budget. So now you can see that is dropped down by one row. You could put a whole host of varying drop-down menus all the way down here and have them reference the different rows as they go down. So that's it for exploring data validation drop-down lists from ranges. If you enjoyed the tutorial, please click the like button. If you want to see more on data validation, there is a whole data validation playlist. So please subscribe and click that notification bell for when more Google Sheet tutorials come about. Until next time.